Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions. Question number 1. Examine critically the various facets of economic policies of the British in India from mid-18th century till independence. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Although the British arrived in India in the early 17th century, their interference in the Indian political setup and its economy began in mid-18th century after the Battle of Plassey, 1757, and Battle of Buxar, 1764. The main body of the answer should be number 1. The East India Company assumed the revenue rights of a large part of East India, and the British mercantilism began with the sole objective of exploiting the economic wealth of India. Number 2. During 1813 to 1857, the British economic policies were characterized by free industrial capitalism. The period saw the deindustrialization of India and commercialization of Indian agriculture. It made India a market for British goods and a supplier of raw materials. Number 3. After the revolt of 1857 till independence, in 1947, the British policies were guided by finance capitalism managed by regulated export-import policies. Number 4. British dictated the terms of international trade for India. British East India Company used the land revenue as a tool for gaining huge profits. This impoverished the peasant and destroyed the rural economy. Number 5. The handicraft industry of India was systematically destroyed, leaving millions of artisans jobless. This increased pressure of agriculture. Number 6. Indian peasants were forced to grow commercial crops like cotton, indigo, etc. at the cost of food grains. It led to devastating famines in the subsequent years, wiping out millions of people. Number 7. The land revenue policies like Zamindari system created long chain of intermediaries. With exorbitant tax rate, agriculture no longer remained a profitable occupation. Number 8. The Britishers did not take any major initiative for the development of agricultural, industry or other infrastructure required for economic development. This degraded the Indian economy in long run. Number 9. The self-sufficiency of rural village economy was destroyed and rural communities were now exposed to vulnerabilities of fluctuations in the market. Conclusion of the answer is: therefore, the economic policies of the British weakened the very base of Indian economy, and finally they left India with an impoverished state of economy. Question number 2. Pressure groups play a vital role in influencing public policy making in India. Explain how the business associations contribute to public policies. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Pressure groups are organized associations, unions or organization of people having common interest. Their aim is to seek better conditions for their members through organized efforts. They try to influence the legislature, executive, and other decision makers to have decisions made in their favor. The main body of the answer should be: pressure groups occupy a place of significance in the process of policy making. The business associations are the most important and organized pressure groups in India. They are also most effective. They are independent of the political parties that exist, and they have enough resources with which they can safeguard their interests. Business associations have existed in India even before independence. The important business groups include the Confederation of Indian Industry, CIT, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI, and Associated Chamber of Commerce. They exert varied kinds of pressures. They try to influence planning, licensing bodies, and economic ministries. Conclusion of the answer is: an organized pressure group claims to represent not only those who are potentially its members, but also all those who by virtue of some common characteristics go along with the ends pursued by the groups. Question number 3. What are the impediments in marketing and supply chain management in industry in India? Can e-commerce help in overcoming these bottlenecks? Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Food processing industry in India is increasingly seen as a potential source for driving the rural economy as it brings about synergy between the consumer, industry and agriculture. The main body of the answer should be 1. The agri-supply chain system of the country is determined by different sectoral issues like dominance of small marginal farmers, fragmented supply chains, absence of scale economies, low level of processing value addition, inadequacy of marketing infrastructure, etc. 2. The major impediments in marketing and supply chain management in developing the food processing industry in India. Organized retail penetration in the food sector has remained low in the country, and organized sales account for just about 1% of the total food and grocery spend. Nearly 30% of food produce is wasted primarily due to the lack of adequate post-harvest infrastructure and poor supply chain management. 3. It has been estimated that loss of primary produce before reaching the market due to lack of proper handling, cleaning, sorting, grading and packaging facilities at the village level is 30 to 40% for grains, fruits and vegetables. 4. Enhancing supply chain can help both the consumers and the producers, the report said. Unreasonably long supply chain results in a steep increase in the total cost owing to procurement, transit and other taxes and service charges levied at various layers. 5. Due to such inefficiencies in the supply chain, it has been estimated that the price received by farmers is only in the range of 25 to 60% of what the consumer pays. Strengthening supply chain can benefit both consumers as well as farmers by 20 to 25%. Supply chain infra gaps, lack of primary processing, storage and distribution facilities. 1. It is essential to build sustainable supply chains, which will link the farmer to the processing and marketing centers seamlessly. 2. In the absence of on-farm cooling and grading arrangements and slow development of cold chain infrastructure, the farmer is compelled to sell his produce to the athia, broker, without waiting for a better price. 3. If the farmer is unable to grade and store his produce close to farm, the farmer will be empowered to demand and obtain a better price from the processors and also add value to his produce. Supply chain institutional gaps, procurement dependence on APMC markets. Number 1. Considerable investments are required in rural infrastructure and components of the supply chain by way of grading and packing centers, controlled atmosphere, storage facilities, reefer vans, testing laboratories, etc. Number 2, which may not come from private sources at this stage of the development of the food processing industry. It is therefore essential that public investment is significantly increased to fund these components of rural infrastructure to enable private enterprise to take up the remaining components of the supply chain which can be undertaken commercially. Number 3. Carefully calibrated subsidies, exploring innovative strategies, empowering rural producers and consumers through better awareness and support to entrepreneurs in terms of technology and training are some of the ways has catalyzed growth in this sector. Number 4. E-commerce has pervaded nearly every aspect of our lives. E-commerce has deeply penetrated into many homes because people from various sections of society, age groups, and geographical areas have embraced it for its convenience and affordability. Number 5. Also, growing consumerism, disposable incomes, and changing lifestyles have prompted the increased use of e-commerce. The food processing industry in the last few years has seen a drastic transformation with the invention of the online business. Conclusion of the answer is: the Indian government has taken steps to boost the food processing industry by allowing to sell its products manufactured in India through wholesale and/or retail, including through e-commerce.